Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Now for today's video, I want to begin a discussion on something that's not really talked about too much at the moment. And that something is Site C, the mysterious location that for some reason popped up a long time ago, only to be forgotten until quite recently. For those that are unaware, Site C is something that was recently teased in Jurassic World Evolution through Jeff Goldblum's dialogue as Ian Malcolm. But believe it or not, it's actually popped up once in the franchise's history before in the past. In fact, it was the very, very old past. Don't worry if this sounds like news to you, it's totally understandable. We're talking about something that's been super secretive for years now, so I'm going to be as thorough as I can in explaining everything we currently know about this weird piece of JP history. Now, back during the release of Jurassic Park 3, there was a lot of marketing material that proudly displayed the new Spinosaurus dinosaur. Back then, you could find the stuff everywhere when they were trying to sell the film. Well, on very few select pieces of merchandise, if you were lucky, you'd be able to find a label that actually displayed a logo with the words Site C, Surf for Survival. For those of us that were kids during the Lost World Jurassic Park era, you'll no doubt remember a lot of the merchandise for the second JP movie had a similar logo on it that read Site B. Now, of course, this makes sense because Lost World takes place on Isla Sorna, and they were marketing this new island on all the stuff for kids who would flock out to the next movie. But Jurassic Park 3 is a totally different situation. That movie takes place on Sorna just like the Lost World did. So why does some of the merchandise for JP3 give it a brand new location that separates it from what's come before? Fortunately for us, Site C comes with a description on this piece of JP3 marketing material that gives some good clues that help us understand what exactly the label means. And that description states the following. With its turquoise water, lush tropical vegetation, and breathtaking vistas, Isla Nublar was the ideal setting for a resort. But the distant roar of a raging Spinosaurus, the low rumble of a hostile T-Rex, the ear-splitting screech of an angry pteranodon remind us that a visit to Jurassic Park ain't no day at the beach. Site C's tropical colors, surf graphics, and hibiscus flower accents seek to invoke a side of Jurassic Park that is lost, but not forgotten. Recently, this image has been making the rounds through the Jurassic Park fan community, and it's been getting a lot of people interested in what it could mean. Some have suggested that at one point in time, JP3 was originally supposed to take place on a brand new island that would be different from Jurassic Park and the Lost World. Others are of the opinion that Site C must have been the name for the Isla Nublar resort that was seen in the first movie, and since Nublar itself is mentioned in that bit of information, I think that it's very possible that they could have been directly referring to that island as the location of Site C. But this is all stuff taken from the JP3 era. There is also a new recorded island that is named Site C by none other than Ian Malcolm himself.
Yes, Site C, more commonly known as Isla Muerta, a newly developed island. The name, roughly translated, and I do mean roughly, the island of the dead. Fitting. Humorous, even.
In Jurassic World Evolution, Malcolm specifically refers to Isla Muerta as Site C. As far as I know, they currently haven't elaborated on this island any further in any of the in-game content, and all we know for certain is that this island is referred to in the story as a site that came after Isla Sorna. Now, this video game's status as canon is something that I don't really think is a thing right now. Maybe soft canon or some kind of prep for something we will see down the line, but right now, I have my doubts on Evolution being linked to the movies directly. Still, this is the most recent information that we've been given about Site C, and in regards to the game itself, it most certainly is Site C in that universe. But what about the Site C that Jurassic Park 3 was promoting back in the day? What exactly was that all about? Well, like I said earlier, JP3 had a few pieces of merch that came with that Site C branding that differentiated it from Site B entirely, and I don't think this was done on accident. One of the things that a lot of people complained about back when JP3 was first released was that Isla Sorna looked radically different to how it did in the Lost World. If you know anything about the production of the third movie, you'll know that things were changing on set all the time, and that the script was being written while they were filming. Interviews with Joe Johnston often state that one of the goals of Jurassic Park 3 was to get away from what went down in the Lost World, and instead try to channel some of the feeling and energy that came out of the original Jurassic Park. One really easy way to do that would have been to ditch the redwoods aesthetic and go back to the jungles of Nublar, which may have been the original idea that they had in mind. If you're asking me personally, we have a 50-50 chance of knowing what Site C was originally going to be. 50% of me thinks Jurassic Park 3 was originally supposed to be set on Nublar, and the other 50% thinks it was supposed to be on an entirely new island. Either way, JP3 wasn't originally going to be on Sorna. That much is pretty clear. The idea for it being Nublar could be supported by the name Site C itself. If Isla Sorna is Site B, and Isla Nublar came after the factory island, wouldn't that make Site C Isla Nublar? But then you've got the question of what exactly ended up being Site A. Maybe Jurassic Park San Diego? I don't know for sure, but that's a very real possibility. If this was their original idea for the third film, that would explain why the island looks more like the first movie instead of the second. It would also mean that they're not paying attention to the Peter Ludlow boardroom speech that states that all of the Nublar dinosaurs were killed off in that deleted scene. The likelihood of this being what they intended is pretty plausible. If it was intended to be Nublar or another island entirely, it would also explain why the Pteranodons were locked up in their aviary instead of flying free like what we saw at the end of The Lost World. In the JP3 script, it states that these guys weren't on InGen's list, but the second movie says otherwise. Probably a good idea that they cut that dialogue. But what about the radically different looking Velociraptors and the Spinosaurus? Neither of those was seen on Isla Nublar. In fact, there shouldn't be any Velociraptors on Nublar at all. They all died. Unless you count some of those babies, but get real, they look just like the other ones. This is where the idea that it was supposed to be an entirely different island comes in. But what exactly would InGen even use this island for? If they've already got one island for breeding animals, and the other for showcasing them, what more could you need? This may have been one of the reasons they decided not to go ahead with calling it Site C. I can imagine people's reactions in the theater when they learned that there was another dinosaur island out there. I don't know if that would have been too positive. That being said, there is still the JP3 era evidence that points to the fact that Site C was something that they wanted to promote back then. So a new location that acted as the home of the Spino and the unresolved questions Grant had about InGen's list makes a lot of sense. At one point in time, there was going to be a tropical island with a Spinosaurus on it that was going to be called Site C. But way later down the line, Isla Morta was confirmed in the Jurassic World Evolution medium as being the set of Site C for that game. Site C technically does exist in Jurassic Park material, but the nature of its canonicity and the importance of its role in any story have never been fully explained. You can't just say there is no such thing as Site C, because that's not true. It's appeared more than once in Jurassic merchandise during the JP3 era, and it's returned very recently, last year in fact, in Jurassic World Evolution. The biggest question we currently have for this place is what was InGen using it for? If the unused island from JP3 was supposed to be Nublar, we know what it was for. But if it wasn't? I have no idea. And as far as Jurassic World Evolution goes, I still have no clue on what the company did there that was so different from Isla Sorna, or why they decided to call it Site C. This entire concept has led to some seriously interesting questions surrounding the development of Jurassic Park 3 and this location's new assigning in a Jurassic World property. If you had to pick one, it would be smart to go with the Jurassic World Evolution description of Isla Morta. That would be the one thing that gets canonized first, because Jurassic Park 3 has already been set in stone as being on Site B. Now, I have a feeling that this isn't the last we've heard of it in the franchise. But what all of you guys think? What is Site C? What are your thoughts on the name being brought up in early JP3 material? And what do you think about Isla Morta being confirmed to be that location in the Evolution continuity? This raises a whole lot of questions for the franchise. Whatever your own thoughts and opinions may be, I'd love to hear them in the comments down below. Now before I go, I'd like to thank all of my game wardens, as well as all of my InGen executives. I'd also like to thank all of my park workers and InGen hunters as well. It really means the world to me that all of you continue to watch my videos, and I never want any of you to forget that. Now, I'd like to thank all of you for watching today's video, and hope you all enjoyed the content. If you feel like I deserve it, I'd appreciate the like, and hope that you'll consider subscribing if you're interested in hearing from me again. See you all in the next video, guys, and as always, take it easy.